Someone was dying next door, and a young man by the name of Adoniram Judson could hear the groans and the sounds coming from the next room. Hey, this is Clint Louie. I'm coming to us with 5 minutes from friendship. Adoniram Judson was a child born into a very religious home. His father was a Congregationalist pastor. I'm going back 2 centuries, but American Congregationalist pastor. And his father and his mother had high hopes for Adoniram. They taught him the Bible. They taught him about Jesus. When Adoniram was about 3 years old, it made his father so happy when Adoniram, 3 years old, would read a chapter of the Bible. And they had high hopes for their boy. Taught him everything they could. As he grew up and got older, eventually he went off to college and he got around a circle of friends. And one man in particular, a man by the name of Jacob Eames. And in this circle of friends, rich, elite, they were intellectual type people and exchanging ideas. And Adoniram's friends did not believe God. They were skeptics, atheists. They did not believe in God. And they used rationalism and humanism and philosophy to explain. And sure enough, slowly but surely, Adoniram's mind was changed. And one day he even came home and dropped a bombshell on his father and mother and said he was renouncing Christianity. He didn't believe there even was a God, or that God, even if he existed, even cared about people. And he was walking away from it. He was done. And he was going to go and join the theater and travel. And you can imagine the tension and the arguments and the words that were exchanged, breaking his father and mother's heart. His mother standing there weeping on that day. But off he went, traveling and living an immoral life, debauchery. Off he went. One day he came and he was on the outskirts of New York City and he needed a place to stay. And so he come to the inn and the innkeeper told him, he said, "I've only got 1 room available, but I'm not sure that you'd want it." Well, Adoniram inquired, "Why is that?" And the man told him, said, there's a man in that room next door and he's dying. And Adoniram said, kind of puffed up, "I'm not worried about that. I hate it for him. I'm sorry for him, but I don't even believe there is a God. So why do I care? Give me the room. I need a room." So the innkeeper said, fine, booked him the room. So here's Adoniram sleeping next door to a man dying. That night, as Adoniram got into bed and began to try to rest, things quiet, all he could hear coming from the next room through the thin little walls, he could hear the groans, he could hear screams, he could hear pain, he could hear groaning as there was a man next door dying. And this man was dying without Christ. Adoniram didn't believe all that, but that's what was happening. He was dying. He had no peace. He had no hope. He had no peace for eternity. And then eventually, somewhere during the middle of the night, the groans quit. The noises stopped, except for what was being played in Adoniram's head. He could still hear it in his mind. The next morning, he got up. He spoke with the innkeeper. The innkeeper said, "The man next door died." Adoniram said, "Well, I thought as much." Who was the man next door? Who was that person next door? And the innkeeper said, "Well, he was a young man from college, and his name was Jacob Eames." When Adoniram heard the name Jacob Eames, the world went out from underneath his feet. That was his friend that he had met in college. That was the young man, elite, rich, full of philosophy and rationalism, who did not believe God, who tried to tear down Adoniram's faith and led Adoniram to a place of renouncing Christianity. And All Adoniram could think of was his money, Jacob's money, Jacob's plans. Jacob even talked of maybe running as senator, even president one day. All that was hopeless and gone. Jacob's philosophy and rationalism didn't mean a thing. He was lost. He was lost. And then the thought crossed Adoniram, I'm lost too. I'm lost. I don't know God. I've never had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Oh, I grew up in a Christian home. Oh, I was taught, but I never knew the Lord. And here I am running from God and saying He doesn't even exist. So Adoniram went home, talked to his father, and Adoniram come to believe that Jesus Christ, God's Son, is the way, the truth, and the life, and no man cometh unto the Father but by Jesus. And I want to take just a second and tell you today, Jesus is still the way, the truth, and the life. And He loves you. He loves you so much that He gave His own life on the cross. And He died and suffered and bled for you. And He gave Himself to pay for your sins. God's Son tasted death for you, so that you would not have to endure the groanings and the sufferings of going into eternity lost. Jesus was buried, and then He rose from the dead, alive forevermore on the third day. And He offers salvation. And I say to you what Jesus said many years ago, you must be born again. And I ask you today, would you put your faith in Jesus Christ? There is hope. Adoniram found that hope. I wish I could say Jacob Eames found that hope. But you can know Christ and have everlasting life. May God bless you. Come to know Jesus. The Lord be with you.